Sometimes two things are meant to be together. Milk and chocolate, peanut butter and jelly, and of course my favorite, macaroni and cheese with ketchup. Okay, you may not agree with that last one, but try it out. You might be surprised. It's actually not a bad combo. Another classic combo I think we can all agree on is Next.js with AWS. Did you know with AWS Amplify, you can not only host your front-end application, but you can have AWS Amplify help you build and deploy your backend as well. Still don't believe me? Let me show you an app I created using AWS Amplify with Next.js 15. All this is built on top of AWS. So you can see here from this application, I first need to log in. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in. So you can see I am logged into both applications as different users. So let's create a new room here. I'm gonna call it test room 1, test room. And then after I create this, you'll see it appears on both these applications. I can click onto each and go into each chat room, and I'll just type hello. And you can see here Bob says hello, and I'll say hi back. And you can see this is a very straightforward chat room. This is using the new AWS AppSync Events API, which I'll explain a little bit more. And I can definitely delete rooms, and it's automatically updated in both applications for both users. And I added in a nice AI option. So if we want to just create an AI chat room, this is using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I can go hello. And then this just acts as an AI chat user. So it says, hey there, how's it going? Just hanging out in this chat room, looking for some interesting conversation. So you can see through all these different ways I've been able to create this chat room. It's using some of the things you're familiar with, Next.js 15, that I'll go over here in a minute. So it's just a really nice way to showcase some of the things that you can do using AWS and Amplify. For this app recipe, I used all the modern tools you know and love, including Tailwind CSS, ShadCN, Next.js 15, including App Router, server components, and server actions. And of course, I'm using my favorite programming superset of JavaScript, TypeScript. And of course, this is all made possible by using AWS Amplify Gen 2. Another nice thing about this stack is I'm using all on-demand services, so you don't have to worry about long-running EC2 instances or anything like that. That definitely has caused me headaches in the past for sure. Okay, you're probably wanting to try this for yourself. Don't worry, I got you covered. I've included a link at the bottom with all the code and everything you need to get started. However, before we get too far, please try this out for yourself. Watch this video, leave a comment below, and let me know what you did or what you think. That's all I ask, one comment, please, no more, no less. So let's take a look at this code in a little bit more detail. So the way I got this started here is I went to the docs and I created a brand new Next.js 15 application. I ran this command npm create amplify at latest and hit enter a few times. Then I set up my AWS environment locally. I followed this guide to configure AWS for local development. It just takes a few minutes. And then afterwards, I was able to run a sandbox command so I can test locally. Let me show you what that looks like. So here is my VS Code and I have the application open. I'm in the folder. And after I ran npm create amplify at latest, it created this amplify folder with auth and data. And I made some changes to it and I'll show you what that is. But just to run the sandbox, after I had it set up using that identity center, I just ran npx ampx sandbox. And what this does is it'll automatically create an ephemeral environment for me so I can test locally. And then later when I'm ready, I can send this up to Amplify Hosting so I can host it on the AWS side. So let me show you a few things that I did on the AWS Amplify side. After I ran that command, it created this Amplify folder. And the first thing I did is in the auth, I added a new pre-sign up trigger. And what this does is anytime someone logs into our system, and this is backed by Cognito, this Lambda function will be triggered. And the reason I did that is I added a user attribute called preferred username. And I wanted to make sure that username was unique and it wasn't being duplicated. So I just added this Lambda function here, and what it does is just checks to see if the preferred username was sent in the request. Then I converted it to be lowercase. Then I just made sure it didn't have any spaces in it. Then I did a quick check to make sure that there wasn't any duplicates in there. And then if there was, it would actually return back in the front end that there was a duplicate. So that was really nice. Additionally, I added in this resource file. This is the schema. And by the way, all this code will be linked in the description below if you like to look at it as I'm discussing. And this is a way I created the data model. So I created a room data model, a chat message, and a chat. So these are just information that I'm saving. So that way, anytime you sent a message in that chat channel, it was saved. And then if you refresh the page, it would be retrieved back. And then I also added in this chat, which is something called Amplify AI Kit, which is a way to talk to large language models in your front end. It's really straightforward to use. So I use this prompt, which says, you are a person in chat room. You respond as if you're casually chatting with a random person. So it's a very simple prompt. And then I made it so only users who are logged in would be able to use this chat model and to be able to use these rooms and chat messages. And finally, I wanted to add in this new AppSync Events API, which is a really nice way to add publisher and subscribers to send messages back and forth. It was just released at reInvent in 2024, the end of 2024. This is all in the documentation on the docs.amplify.aws site. I just copy and pasted and made a few changes. So this just says, go ahead and create a new custom resource and have it configured for user pool. Then I added in some policies for it. And then I added an output. So that way, once you ran the sandbox, it actually outputs this command here. So when I ran that npx ampex sandbox, it creates an amplify outputs file, this one right here. And then in the amplify outputs file, I was able to have this information in there so that way we can use it later on. And I'll show you how that works in the Next.js 15 side. So through this whole creating of this application, I actually use Amazon Q, which is a free extension that you can use. I can ask it questions. It really helped me out. It actually helped me with a lot of the UI as well. So in Next.js 15, I'm using the app router, meaning that I'm going to have apps that run on the server side. And so I created this utility folder. Once again, this is all in the documentation, but I added in this server utils. So basically what this does, it creates a client that I can use on the server side. So I can query and get the chat history that I need. I also created a client utils, which does the opposite, but for the client side. So that way I can quickly grab information on the client side using this generate client. So what I did is I created this actions file. This is a server actions file where I've put all my server actions in. And so if you're not familiar with Next.js 15, these are basically actions that you can actually call from the client side, which will then call server side actions for you. So I use that cookie-based client that I showed you earlier, and I did things like, in this case here, I get all messages from the chat room. I have add messages to DB, which essentially creates this chat message that we want to save. I also have get rooms, add rooms, post messages, kind of everything I need, so that way when I'm on the client side, I can still use these actions and have all this done on the server side, and nothing gets leaked to the client. So you can see in this example, in the chat area TSX file, I have get all messages from the chat room. And inside here, you can see I am calling it on a use effect. So as soon as this client loads up, this chat area component loads up, it will automatically grab all the information using the server action and then retrieve it. And then this messages will be set inside a use state. And then inside here, later on, I use it to actually display each message, which is really handy for me. Another interesting thing is since I'm using the new AppSync Events API, I have AWS Amplify stalled on this application, and I'm using events. And then you can see from here, I can actually connect to that event, to that chat room. So anytime this event occurs, I will get notification on it. And so I subscribe right here. So anytime an event occurs, I add it to the last event. So to kind of create this chat room that's being displayed on the screen. I also have this handle send message so that anytime anybody hits enter on the keyboard, it sets it to this post message right here. So this post message, it does a few checks here at the top to make sure that the message isn't empty. It also truncates the message. So if someone puts over 100 characters long, it just gets the first 100. It adds it to the database, but then it actually sends it over using AppSync Events using this fetch right here. So I do a post. I pass in the information I need, including the token that we get from this right here. This is actually passed in using a wait ID token. This ID token is grabbed from the server util, so we have the correct ID token. It then gets sent over, and we also send the username and everything over. And so this is actually done server side. I wanted to make sure that messages were sent server side. That way someone couldn't change the sender or do something nefarious that way. I just wanted to be a little bit more cautious and have it all done on the server side. One last thing I want to show you. I'm in my AWS console now, and let's imagine I want to deploy this application. I can simply go to the Amplify console by just typing in Amplify. Go to AWS Amplify here. If this is the first time in it, it might look a little different. You'll probably just see my applications here. But you should be able to click on Create New App here. You might have to scroll down until you see Create New App. I'll choose GitHub. I'll click Next. Then it'll authorize through my GitHub if I'm not already authorized. I can then select my application. I'm going to choose this Messenger app Amplify. I'm going to click the branch, which is main. Click Next. I'm going to click Next. It'll auto-detect what it is, and then I'll click Save and Deploy. So this will automatically deploy the application for us on Amplify Hosting. I can then also connect it to my own domain name if I like, and I can also add in our developer preview of our WAF firewall if we wanted to. But this is all you need to do to get it done from playing around with it all the way to production. So still not sold on macaroni and cheese with ketchup? That's okay. I hope you learned more about Next.js and AWS. Please leave a comment below on what you learned. Until next time.